Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at programming System Manager up, added Session Manager to it, and just doing the basic configuration to be able to add all of our other elements and stuff like that into our inventory. We'll be taking a look at the certificate authority stuff as well on it. But first of all, what we'll do is I'll start off by SSHing to System Manager. Now, although I do have a DNS server on the network that I can use for name resolution, I like to add in the host names manually as well. So there's two ways we can do this. We can do the edit host command, which basically just puts an entry into the host file. So if I just expand this, what we can do is we can do edit hosts -a for add, and then we can just do add a host file, a host entry in there. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to log on to my session manager that I have installed already in the previous video. I'm just going to verify the host name. So we can do a host name space -f, and it will tell me that that is the host name. So that is the fully qualified host name. If we just typed in host name and it would give us the short one, well, it actually doesn't, but if you do a -s, it will give you the short one. So let's just move that over here quickly and rearrange that. So if we do edit host, what it's saying is edit host -a, the IP, the FQDN, and the host name. So what we would need to do, I don't know if you need to do this in quotations or not, because it's been a while since I've done it, but we'll try it without and see what it does. So the IP of my session manager is 10.2.1.215. That's my management IP. My FQDN is that. I didn't actually want it to do that. What does it say? A number of arguments. Okay, so fine. You actually have to do it in quotations, which is fine. We'll do it like that. Edit hosts 10.2.1.5, 10.2.1.215, the FQDN, and then just do lab SM01 as the short host name. Helps if I finish it in quotes, and then there we go. It's successfully added. If we wanted to remove that now, then we just do the reverse and change that to R, and there you go. It successfully removed it. But I actually want to add it in. So we'll add this one in. And now if we have a look at our host file, you'll see that this entry is in here now. So I like to add that in, although we're using DNS anyway, I just like to add it in because I just find it works sometimes a little bit better, it's a lot quicker. If the DNS server for some reason went offline, then at least it would use what it has in its local host file. The only downside to doing this is it makes it a little bit more tricky to support. So say for example, this session manager had its host name changed or its IP address changed or something like that, and someone updated it on the DNS server and it didn't work, then it might take some looking around to work out that it was actually added into the host file on System Manager directly. So it's a little bit, it makes it a little bit more difficult to support. But anyway, so what we can do now is if we go to Elements and we go to Routing, what we need to do is we need to add the domain in. So go to domains, click on New. I'm just going to call this lab via lab.local. Type is SIP. There is no other type. You can put some in the notes if you need to, but usually the name is more just self-explanatory enough. Click on commit and then just refresh and you'll see that it's here. And what we have to do is just to create a location. So go to locations, click on new, and we'll just call this Avaya Aura Lab. There's lots of different parameters you can put in here. You can enable dial plan transparency and survivability mode. You can also manage bandwidth to other locations and stuff like that. You can also do location patterns as well, so you can specify IP address ranges so they're recognized as coming from that location. But for the time being, we don't need to worry about that. All we need to do is just have a location, and all of these can be modified at another date or another time anyway. So we'll just click on commit. So what we have now is we have our domain and we have our location. So what we can do now is if we go back to routing and we go to SIP entities, we can then go and add in our session manager. So we'll call this SMO1. Its IP address is 10, and this is going to be the IP address of the security module. So it's not going to be the 10.215 or 10.2.1.215 IP address. It will be another IP address that will be assigned to it for the the SM100, the security module. So we'll put the IP address of the security module in here, which will be 10.2.1, and this will be 216. SIP FQDN, again, we can call that lab SM01 sm100 via lab.local. Location, we'll set it to the one we just created a moment ago, and then obviously the time zone we'll set accordingly. And these can be left as default. I mean, these are global settings. You can either modify them from here, or you can leave them as global settings. And then what we're going to do in here is, depending on what our phones are going to register to, like what transport method we're so for example, let me explain this. We need to tell session manager what ports it's going to listen on. So I want it to listen on 5061 TLS. The default domain is going to be that, and I want it to be an endpoint. So endpoints are allowed to register on this. I'm also going to enable TCP, and I'm also going to enable UDP as well. I'll change these to 5060. And basically what that means is, so we're back on here, and it is slowly coming up. You can see our data replication is there, which means that this thing should be synchronized, which it is. So we can get rid of that now. We don't need to worry about that. And sometimes what I find to speed this up is you can do the maintenance test. So you select that, we can execute all these tests. So yep, that's still coming up, and so is that as well. One good thing that Avaya did add into 8.1.3 for Session Manager is the ability to use the push notification service. So previously what you had to do is you had to use the Avaya or a web gateway to then subscribe to Avaya Spaces that would have a system ID and a public key kind of entered into the like for the domain that you would add for your client. And basically what would happen is the Avaya or web gateway would connect to that, and then your mobile devices, your iOS ones, iPads and iPhones would then connect to the web gateway or connect to it via the SBC using a reverse proxy rule. And what it would do is it would basically allow the application to go to sleep and not drain the battery down, but it would receive push notifications from the web gateway to wake the phone up and alert that someone was calling. Something that Avaya changed in IX Workplace, I think it was like a couple of years ago now. So if you wanted push notifications, you used to have a web gateway specifically to do that job. Now, in this release of Avaya Aura 8.1.3, there is no need for a web gateway to use for push notifications now. The session manager can do it straight away. So that's pretty cool actually. They allow you to do that. Let's execute these tests again quickly because it might have sort of woken itself up a bit. There we go. So some stuff is starting to come up a bit better now. So the security module's up, and if I bring my command prompts up, you can see that it's starting to ping now as well. It's just this thing here. Well, I think I'm going to leave the video, leave it there to be honest, guys, because we've got our session manager installed. We've got session manager set up to have a trust relationship with system manager. So there's not really a lot else we can do. And tell you what, actually, before we end the video, there is something I'm going to show you guys which is quite important. If you're going to manage elements under inventory, and we go to our session manager, tick that. If you go to manage identity certificates, I always change this. So there's two things we have to do here. So select the security module HTTP. You'll see here is the default certificate. It's generated from System Manager when it enrolled itself. It has this as the DNS name and all sorts of stuff there. What I like to do is I like to replace that certificate. I tick this, and I like to give it 4096 key size. Put that in there, and then also the IP address in here as well, 10.2.1.216. And I just like to replace it with a bigger key size, and some, like the J series handsets, actually require the IP address to be put in here as well. And we have to do the same with the security module SIP as well. So we'll replace that, check that there, 4096, and also the IP address, same as what we did before, and commit. And there we go. So if you go and view those now, you'll see that it's changed. So yeah, that is how we add session manager to system manager and configure it. So once again, guys, thanks for watching the video. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos, and feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Thanks, guys.